Welcome to the Journey to Your Best Self podcast, brought to you by Your One Self. As always, I'm your host, Brian O'Neill. And as always, my co-host is Andrew Moshokumu. Together, we'll explore the transformative journey of self-discovery and holistic integration. Our purpose is to provide ancient wisdom and evidence-based methods, allowing you to merge your mind, body, and spirit into a harmonious whole. Alongside us today, we are blessed to have Tara O'Neill, a clinical hypnotherapist, certified life coach, and yoga instructor. Let's dive in and embark on this journey together. Welcome to the Journey to Your Best Self podcast. I'm Brian O'Neill, and I'm thrilled to have you with us today. Today, we're talking about something that's simple yet powerful, affirmations. And these aren't just positive words. They're a tool that can help you rewire your brain, uplift your spirit, and help you navigate life's challenges with more confidence. And to help me explore this topic, we have with us our resident expert, Tara O'Neill. Tara, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Good. So, one of the great things and one of the reasons that we chose this topic is we like to get to explore things that get results right away and are accessible to as many followers and listeners and viewers as possible. And I think affirmations definitely hits all those categories that we like. So let's just dive right into it. For those who may have heard about affirmations or are just maybe not familiar at all, can you give us just a brief definition of what affirmations are?
Yes, absolutely. And they are accessible to everyone. Don't they say that the best things in life are free? And affirmations are free. And you could do them once you learn the proper way to do them in the best way suited for you. Affirmations are positive present tense statements that we repeat to ourselves in order to encourage a desired mindset or behavior. They're crafted to reinforce what you want to see in your life, the thoughts that you want to have, whether it's about health, wealth, or relationships. Maybe you want more confidence to achieve a specific goal, a certain state of being. And these statements are going to reprogram the brain. And we've talked a little about neuroplasticity in the past, and similarly, how hypnosis and other practices work by creating new neural networks through neuroplasticity. Affirmations do the same. So you can see real, tangible evidence in your life after a short amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, all stuff that we have and will continue to promote at Your One Self, and you'll continue to hear at Journey to Your Best Self, neuroplasticity being one of them, right? Growth mindset, very hopeful through dedication, positive thinking, consistency, the change is kind of endless. A couple of things that you mentioned that I think are critical, and I just wanted to reiterate. You said that affirmations are positive and present tense. So those are basically required. They're non-starters, right? Affirmations need to be have a positive tilt to them, and they're not something about things that have happened in the past, right? Or, one day I'll do this. Well, what's a little different? What is
right?
Uniquely present about these statements?
Sure. So our conscious mind thinks linearly, thinks with time and space, distance. And with the subconscious mind, it thinks of everything as the present moment. So it's not necessarily thinking about the past and the future. We want to really anchor in the present moment. So we're going to amplify it by saying or almost as if you already have it, right? So if the subconscious is only ever the present moment, and we say, one day I want, or I will try, it's not understanding because it thinks, well, it must not be right now. So it is a little bit.
There's a big, you're creating a disconnect between your conscious and subconscious, right?
Yes. And so when you repeat things consciously, if you complain or negative self-talk, which is, I'm not judging that. We'll talk about that in a little while as to why we tend to do that. But it's important for it to be positive, assuming that you're using it for transformation, change, evolution of yourself. So yes, positive, definitely. You want it to feel good. You want it to be expansive. Don't want it to be constricting. So I always use a simple example as words love and hate. The word love is lighter, often brings people happy thoughts. The word hate is a little bit heavier, a little more dense. And now, while words can mean something different to everyone, generally speaking, there's a collective consensus that love is something you want to go towards. Hate might be something you don't want more of. So that's where the vibration comes in. We often will talk about vibration and frequency, and they can be a little elusive.
Can you kind of let's delve a little deeper into that? I mean, the possibilities already are pretty amazing, because when we talk about the kind of the repetitions there, and then the carving that pathway into the neural networks, it's a good reminder that there are billions, really tens of billions of neurons, in the brain. There's just so much possibility and hope for everyone, because there's so many pathways of positivity ready to be traveled, right?
The positivity.
There's a lot of opportunity here for everyone. Getting to those frequencies and things like that. We often talk about how everything, kind of, you just mentioned space, time, everything in the universe, even our thoughts, words, has an energy, or is energy, and it has a specific vibration. What can you kind of explain what you mean by that?
Sure. So quantum physics, quantum mechanics tells us that everything is energy. And so that's all well and fine in science, but what does that mean for us? And how is that affecting our life and our lives? And so when you think of vibration, thinking, I want to also dispel a myth of good vibes and bad vibes and negative and positive, right? If you have negative thoughts, welcome to being human, right? That's totally normal. Though you can think of it as the negative thoughts are heavier, the positive thoughts are lighter, right? So they're, again, with the expansiveness, they're a little bit more expansive. They're less dense. And so when you do things and you live a lifestyle that is lighter, filled with more love and more joy and light, and clear your trauma and do activities that support that movement of lighter energy, you will raise your frequency or your vibration. Though that's not to say that people that have a low vibration or very dense energy are bad by any means. And I while I love the good vibes only t-shirts, I think that we can't, leave out people that are not good vibe only. So there is and I'm a little bit liberal in my thinking, because I do think that there isn't a good or bad. We shouldn't judge or shame or blame people even more than they probably already are. So that being said, we want to get rid of the negative beliefs and thought systems that we've carried for our whole life, and then ancestrally for generations. So we are evolving to be light beings. We are, in my opinion, we're evolving to be lighter and lighter, to clear more and more, to have more love, more unconditional love, right? More spirit within us, more evolution, more creation, more expansion. So this is one way that it's not a panacea. We want to use it with other modalities, but it's very effective. And a wonderful tool that you can use anywhere, anytime. You don't have to say it out loud. You could, if you're stressed out, in traffic, you could say your affirmations. So
Yeah, for sure. And we'll get into how the affirmations can, change your brain and body. But from what you were just saying, and kind of the open tent, and the even the people that haven't graduated to flaunting the good vibes teas, there's a lot of pathways for them in that way. But in that way, how do affirmations kind of tie into the whole your one self mission?
yes, wonderful question. Thank you. So when you start self-reflecting, you become more self-aware. What is one of the first things that you do? You become more aware of your thoughts, your words, and then beliefs, and then actions. They're all interconnected, right? So what we want to do is we want to analyze them, and we want to identify which ones are helpful and which ones are not. Where did they come from? Why are we using them? And in the past, evolutionarily, we were by nature on alert for danger. And so those negative thoughts were keeping us on our toes. So that person's not good, or that person is, from another tribe, that type of a monkey brain survival mechanism that we are evolving out of. So we do have to put a little bit of work into it to kind of graduate from that part of the brain to using our prefrontal cortex, where we can live in that lighter place.
Absolutely. How will consistency is going to be, I know, an answer coming up, but how will the affirmations kind of create these new neural pathways in your brain? Can you speak more about how that kind of relates to the...
Yes, absolutely. So words, we have the collective consensus of what words mean, but as I was using the example before, like love might not be that positive of a word for someone. So you have to choose the words that are associated with positive emotion and feelings and behaviors. And so when I'll use an example of when I first started hypnotherapy, I had my client envision that she was on a white sandy beach. And at the end, she's like, that was amazing. She said, but I absolutely hate the beach. I had to think of something else. So that's an example of, everybody has a different preference for the most part. But what's really important is that the words are important to you, and that you can create and connect your intention and your goal and the state of being that you want to live in with the affirmation. So, and then I might as well just jump right into they might not seem believable, and that's okay. Because if they were, you wouldn't have to use them, right? So it's a stepping stone. But if you do get stuck, if you're doing the mirror affirmations, and that is staring in the mirror and repeating the affirmations, if there's something that is blocking you, or an old stressor or trauma, you'll feel it, and you'll even might see a grimace in your face, and you'll know that there's something a little bit deeper that you might have to explore, right? So if you let's use the affirmation, I am motivated and dedicated, and you're in the mirror and you're looking at that and you're like, oh, that doesn't feel right. Maybe you dig a little deeper and somebody called you lazy your whole life growing up. And so there's a really big disconnect because you have a belief that you're lazy. So that's when you could also journal it out. You could talk to somebody, you can sit in meditation, and you could use your other tools to work through that if it's a little bit more stuck than some of the other, unabundant, or, some of the more generic ones.
Yeah, I think that we're coming off of that client story, and how the there's positive affirmations, but not every positive affirmation will necessarily resonate with every single person that's attempting them. But that also connects back in with one of the core principles that we have at your own self, and that we kind of have talked about on the journey to your best self ever since episode 1. Know thyself. Famous quote we had mentioned, and a value, almost like and it's in a way it could be its own affirmation, right? I mean, it's kind of a higher level situation when you're doing that, but that piece of ancient wisdom about self-awareness and understanding your oneself or your true nature, it's critical. How does that kind of align with what we're talking about now?
Yeah, well, that's a good point. The know thyself. Often we'll put the affirmation in present tense, I am, but it doesn't have to be written that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you can write it in other ways in present tense without the I am, but the I am is very powerful. Those two words are very powerful in a declaration to your oneself, affirming. It all ties in. It's a journey. It really is a journey to your best self, because
Mm.
and to find your one self and embody that. They're tools, but they're so powerful, and they're interconnected. And so know thyself is the only way. I don't like to declare things like that, but to have self-realization, you do
Mm.
need to know thyself.
Mm.
The irony is you're not who you think you are, right? So yourself at different stages, but at each stage you're different. So it is a little bit like paradoxical in a way, right? As is your one self. That's why we love it so much, because
Mm-hmm.
right, it is mind, body, spirit. We're one, but we have these parts. And so the journey is the exploration, and it's fun. And I love affirmations for all sorts of things. Even I remember, you know, going through a couple tough times in my life. Like I'm okay was one of them when I was a high school teacher, and having
Mm.
some rough students in my mind. I'm just like, I'm okay. I'm okay. So, there's there's no rules per se. I mean, there's flexibility around how you use it, when you use it. We just want it to work for our listeners, and we want it to fit their needs where they're at,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and run with it. And
Yeah,
know
and they can certainly change with you depending on where you're at and where you are as you're climbing that pyramid, or embracing the different pillars that we talk about, because they can be incredibly powerful. And as you evolve, as you said, once they kind of synchronize with where you it can definitely be very empowering, and it kind of reinforces and reminds you, of how far you've come from I'm okay to I'm dedicated, I'm
I
motivated, I'm achieving, right? I'm winning
I
this
yeah,
event.
I think I had an affirmation the other day, like expanding my infinite consciousness. If you told me 10 years ago that I would be saying that, I wouldn't have even had any context for it. So, yes, absolutely. And not to say that I, don't have a lot more I am okays,
Hmm.
in there. I don't know. But it'll be different I am okay, right? It'll be different context, different vibration, different meaning, so yeah. And I also want to add, to your point of, basically it empowers you to realize that you can have anything that you want, and you are absolutely infinitely magical, for lack of a better word, right? You do have the ability to be all of the things that you want to affirm. You are that. We are infinite beings, period.
Excellent. Well, let's see here. You mentioned how your affirmations have evolved along with you, and that kind of highlights and is a great anecdotal example of how the power of affirmations, is limitless in a way, and well, because you are limitless, or we are. What are tangible techniques people can use to make their affirmations even more effective?
Yeah. So I would say, let me, I think you were maybe implying that tapping in the mirror, but I wanted to share that the more open you are, the more you'll get even greater results
Mm,
for your affirmation. So for
okay.
example, I'm open and receptive to new forms of prosperity and abundance, right? So that does that sound a little different than I'm rich? So, and it that's also a little bit ego based. We eventually want to get to be more all encompassing. Not that there's anything wrong with being rich, but it's limiting, right? It doesn't give your subconscious a lot of space to work with, right? And so, as we've talked about in past episodes, like the sleep and hypnosis, our subconscious mind, our unconscious at night is doing a lot of different role playing, a lot of dreaming, figuring out situations. So, when we say these affirmations, especially before bed, we're basically telling our unconscious mind, here, this is your homework. I'm going to need you to figure out how to make me open and receptive to new forms of prosperity and abundance. And so, whatever your affirmation might be, the point is say it before bed and see what happens.
Absolutely.
And that's not woo woo, right? That's actual science where you'll start to see things in your reality that you might not have seen before, but now your unconscious has primed you to find these things that were always there, but we just didn't see them.
All right, great advice for taking your affirmations to the next level. One of the ways people are introduced in pop culture to affirmations is, you see a star or a co-star struggling in a movie or some kind of legacy TV show, and they want to get themselves hyped up or fired up to take over the world or just to achieve some kind of momentous task, and they're there in front of the mirror hyping themselves up. Is there any value to that? Is that just for because it looks cool seeing you challenge yourself, or does that have this mirror, I don't even know how to call it, does that work? And if not, are there other things that we can use to kind of, especially when we're starting out, right, to kind of help us, you know, have more powerful affirmations?
Yeah, absolutely. The mirror, I can't speak to the stars and the getting hyped up. Though I'm assuming it's probably a similar concepts that you connect with yourself, right? You
Mm,
connect with a deeper part of yourself,
mm.
and that's what makes the mirror work amplify the affirmations. So if you're in the mirror, you want to make eye contact with yourself and don't try not to look away if you can. Sometimes if we have a negative emotion or an emotion, we want to look away, or if there's shame there. So you can also, yeah, you can say your affirmation before, look in the mirror and do it in the mirror, see if it feels any different or changes.
No,
It's
that's a
it's
good
very,
way to test it out.
yeah, consistency and assessing, right? So that's
Mm,
definitely what we preach here, so to speak. So with that, it can be really powerful, and something as simple as "I love you." Try that. See what happens when you look in the mirror and you say "I love you."
okay.
The first time that I ever did it, and I had done some personal growth work, and I didn't think that I had a whole lot of issues with myself. I thought I kind of liked myself. And I remember thinking, whoa, that felt not that great. And so basically what it was is my shadow parts were being activated. And so a lot of us in our society have shame that is part of programming and conditioning, and we repress these things. We could talk more about this in the Carl Jung episode. He's one of the most influential people on me. He talks a lot about the unconscious mind and the collective conscious, unconscious. So back to the mirror, looking in it, and then really feeling your feelings. If tears come up, let them come, right? If negative thoughts come up, they want to be cleared, let them come. So, just assess, be kind to yourself, have somebody with you if you want support through some of the tougher trigger words. So, if somebody was bullied, for example, for being overweight, and they're trying to do an affirmation, healthy and fit, they might start crying. And so they should let that unprocessed emotion flow through. And now you'll have space for this brand new, healthy way of being. And so also a few other modalities. Of course, hypnosis. Hypnosis uses affirmations, right? In so many ways. EFT is emotional freedom technique. You tap on different meridians throughout the body, and it programs the affirmations more easily into your subconscious and your body, right? And remember, the mind and the body are intricately connected.
Oh wow. Yeah. That's great stuff. Again, yeah, there's just so much here and so much. It's great that, just like kind of the meditation that we talked about, and a lot of the fitness that we're going to talk about later in the weekend, some of the yoga stuff we talked about it, and a whole host of other things. There's one of the reasons that we choose this topic is no matter where you are on that spectrum of understanding affirmations or kind of investigating your true self, there's a place to go for everyone. So there's that very basic entry level. There's some mirror work to take it farther. There's some tapping, right? Different techniques to take it farther as well. It's excellent, and that's what we try to do. It's very inclusive, no matter where you are in the journey. There's something here for everyone, so can really appreciate that. What about something that we've also kind of talked about, and some people are very comfortable with journaling and diaries, and writing down lists and notes, and they might struggle verbally, or coming up with the proper phrase, or they just don't want to hear their voice, or it might be uncomfortable for them to talk to themselves, or what have you, but they're really comfortable with writing stuff down. So is that part of this kind of affirmation world? If so, how could people go about writing down their own, and do you have any tips or suggestions there?
Yeah, they're very powerful when you write them as well. And I suggest writing them out, not typing them, because there is
Okay.
a connective mechanism in the brain that helps solidify that as that reaffirming it, stronger connection,
Okay.
stronger neural pathway connection. So there are different strategies out there that you repeat the same affirmation 50 times in the morning and in the evening, and read them before you go to bed out loud or silently. It is fine. I do recommend saying it out loud, but yeah, I also think combination would work really well. And then while you're writing too, if something comes up and you're like, well, I don't feel it. I don't understand why does this not feel right, or this feels odd. Continue to journal. Even if you journal nonsensically, eventually something will come up. And
Okay.
there's something that they call morning pages, where you can when you wake up, you just write out everything that is on your mind, that would be a great time to do the
Okay.
affirmations as well. So again, we're combining some of these techniques to really give you the support for an easy transformation.
Excellent. Very useful, tips that a lot of people can do. Everyone can definitely be included in this practice. As we, come to a close, like to give people tangible, you know, right when they're done with this or at the end of this listening, viewing experience, they can start it right up on their own, or as you had said earlier, if they're going to work or wherever they are. But what's the way to kind of first get somebody to kind of incorporate affirmations into their daily lives? And then on top of that, how can we remain consistent with the practice?
Yeah. So I think back to the theme of know thyself, it'd be
Mm-hmm.
helpful if you had an intention and
Okay.
an idea of where you want to go, uh, as opposed to just, saying, oh, that affirmation looks nice. That one sounds okay. You can explore that way, but if you know where you want to go, if you want financial freedom, greater health, or stronger relationships, if you have an idea, then you can narrow it down and strengthen it through the affirmation. So I would say, talk it out, explore, really see what you want to. I like to think like maybe 6 months ahead. So, where do you want to be in 6 months from now? And what do you need to do in order to get into that mindset state, right? Because a lot of times it's mindset over the external circumstances. And so, we want to prepare mentally for a change, so it can be smoother. And then in terms of how to keep consistent, I mean,
I was thinking you had mentioned the morning jotting, the morning
morning
notes. What
pages.
about kind of tying them into a routine, maybe like we had talked about, kind of your nighttime ritual or something like that? Would you incorporate it then? Is it, or first thing, or does it matter as long as you keep it up?
Yeah. Well, I would say do it for 30 days. And you can,
Absolutely.
so with the mirror work, you could put the post-it right on the mirror with your affirmation written on it. So you are brushing your teeth, you see the
Hmm.
affirmation. Well, you might get toothpaste everywhere, so don't say it while you're actually brushing your teeth, but you get the point. So we want to make it as easy as possible. And at nighttime, yeah, some of my clients will write out their affirmation. As they're writing it out, they get so emotional in a
Hmm.
positive way. They say it's very expansive. Their heart opens. They really imagine having that, whatever it is that they want, peace, love, joy, as they're writing it. So that's kind of cool too. And you can make it fun too. Make, colorful, draw little doodles, whatever you want. Make it a practice that you enjoy.
Love it. Absolutely. And yeah, it's about, because if you don't, then you're not, the consistency piece is going to be difficult, right? If you're not
Right. And that is
enjoying it.
one thing. Sorry. That's one thing that you do need, the consistency and the repetition. Like,
Mhm.
absolutely. You're most likely, you can't do it for 2 days and think that you're good for I mean, perhaps, but it's unlikely.
No, the neural pathways weren't built in a day, right?
Right. Right.
So,
We've been thinking negative thoughts for decades. It's
yes,
gonna take
you
more
have to counteract.
years.
And we talked about it pre-show. If, you have a mirror that you have been so disappointed with or at a moment of weakness, hit a mirror, or if you've had kind of negative self-deprecating, really of yourself thoughts over many years, months, and even years and years and years, counteracting them is not going to be instantaneous, right? Well, the attempt to counteract them can start right now,
Yeah.
but the victory is not going to be, one day. It's going to take a lot more time and consistency and work. But you're going to see progress along the way. But if you do 2 days, you're going to revert back into old habits and, away from the light. It's going to just get heavier and heavier. So,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
the great thing about affirmations, this is not, 90 minutes either that you're doing it. What can you quickly talk about how long this process is going to take? I mean, you're not they're struggling, sweating it out, looking at the clock, right? Thinking, oh man, when is this going to end? I mean, how fast are we talking?
Right. And so that's where I do want people to not bypass, right? So that's
Hmm.
okay if you don't believe it yet, but if
Hmm.
you are just repeating it over and over and over and pushing what's preventing you from believing it down, you're gonna have a little resistance. So it's gonna take longer amount of time.
Hmm.
But like I said, do it for 30 days. The thing is, it has this compound effect. So it tends to bring more things into it. So as you get lighter, as your vibration rises, you're open up to this quantum field, this infinite field. It becomes sometimes my clients will forget their affirmations like the next week because they use them so diligently. And I also had them in their hypnosis recording, and they're like, I'm on to the next thing, and actually turns out I don't even want this, I want this. And so it becomes like really fun a fun way to navigate the
Hmm.
inner workings of our mind. And that's another thing that we want for your one self followers is not to have to suffer through transformation, right? Change has a bad rap. And I think that there's a lot of fun that can be incorporated in these practices. Oh, and
Absolutely.
one more thing with repeating them, if you visualize what you want, or if you use your senses, maybe going back to that beach. She said that she wasn't enjoying it, but most people would be at that beach. They'd be smelling maybe the salty sea air. Maybe their feet would be in the sand. They'd be listening to the ocean. And when you have all of your senses involved, it makes that neural network form and really solidify much faster and much more of a pronounced change.
Yes, glad we stuck around for that critical, component to kind of make it a more lasting effect. So
Uplift.
excellent. All right. Well, on that note, Tara, thank you for sharing your insights. As always, I think everyone listening, viewing, are going to find a lot of value in what we've discussed.
I have an affirmation suggestion for you.
Okay, take it away.
I am a amazing brother and very generous and loving. Will do anything for my sister.
I will take that affirmation suggestion, potentially embrace it. Okay, that's it. See, affirmations can not only help yourself, but they can help others. All right. All right. Anyway, thank you everyone for tuning in, viewing, listening. Remember, there's a lot more at youroneself.com. Follow us on Instagram, subscribe and follow, and like our YouTube page and videos and shorts. Tara O'Neill.com for next higher on the pyramid assistance and guidance. Keep practicing those affirmations. Stay committed to your journey. And as always, peace, love, and self-discovery.
Thank you.